Hey everyone, I am here live with Tracy Kawa, the creator and founder of the KBAT assessment. I have taken it myself. I've enjoyed the things that I've learned from Tracy and from taking the assessment. And if you want to join us live, if you didn't already get the Zoom link, hopefully you can catch us on social, or else you'll just have to wait till you get the email on Monday. But I want to have you be introduced to Tracy. Tracy, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. I am Tracy Kawa. I'm a career and success coach. I'm an author, a speaker, and a trainer. I live here in sunny South Florida. I'm actually broadcasting right now from FIU, which is pretty cool. And I live with my 4 dogs, 2 boys, and my significant other. And I am the founder of the KBAT, and I'm looking forward to giving you some information on that. It's a tool that we use with entrepreneurs, with people in career transition, anyone who's in a professional setting who wants to enhance their performance, any organization that's that wants to improve their bottom line.
So Tracy, I know you have a training here in a little bit, but could you tell everyone, how'd you get started with the KBAT system? Or I'm sorry, assessment.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened was that after I built a very successful business in my early 20s, I kind of floundered around a little bit. And I really couldn't find my mojo. I tried my hands at a lot of different things. I had a couple of small successes, but mostly they were pretty big failures, which is okay because I learned from those as well. Well, it wasn't until I realized that if I had a starting point, if I could meet each person where they were at in the form of an assessment, then I would have a backdrop or a background to start each person off. So no sooner did I put that out in the universe, then God dropped that in my lap in the form of an assessment tool and a behavioral scientist who I worked very closely with for quite a long time in order to create KBAT. And this is a tool that I use that helps to meet entrepreneurs and professionals where they're at, to help them see, really pull off the blinders in their careers, to help them see what it is that has them sidetracked, or just what it is that they can't see that will help them, once recognized, will help them move forward in their careers.
Thank you, Tracy. I like to think that knowing how you got started with it would help us move forward with it. Thank you for that, Tracy. You can start with your training at any time.
Got it. So again, I'm outdoors. So if you see me like move my hand around, there's this little mosquito that is pestering me. So I'm just warning the audience. So here, let's start with this slideshow from the beginning, shall we? So thank you, first of all, Erica, for hosting me here today at Talk Virtual Summiteers Mastermind. I'm really excited about the opportunity. And we're going to be talking about assessing for success. How many of you have a dog? I see some of you have a dog. How many of you have a dog that sheds? How many of you have a friend who has a dog that sheds? Yeah. So we all know someone, you go over their house, you leave, and you're asking for a lint roller on the way out to get all of that dog hair off of your nice outfit. So what I realized early on, I have a dog. I had a dog at the time that looked very much like this one, right? They start off as adorable little puppies, and the bigger they grow, the more they shed. And over time, I thought is the key word. I thought that I became wise. So not only did I know where to dust the dog hair, but I started realizing where to look for it. So I would look between the cracks of the sofa and under the sofa and under the bed and under furniture and behind furniture. And I thought I was getting all of that dog hair. But one day I had 2 big movers come into my house, and they moved my refrigerator to bring in a brand new one. And guess what was behind there? There was so much dog hair that I couldn't believe it. And honestly, I didn't even know that I had to look behind my refrigerator to find that dog hair. So the point is, you don't know what you don't know. So how does this pertain to our careers, right? That's what you're asking yourself. You're like, all right, what does this dog have to do with my career? So I'm going to tell you a real life example. There was a man who was very successful in business, and he came to me when I first created the assessment. And we gave him the assessment because he really wanted to take his career to the next level, but wasn't really sure how. And when he got the results of the KBAT assessment, the first thing he said to me before I even started walking him through it was, Tracy, I'm kind of disappointed. And I said, why? He said, because I thought I would come up as so much more of a leader. And that's when I said to him, well, didn't you tell me that in order to be successful in this industry, we were going to have to, your brother came to you and said, we were going to have to own our own in order to be successful. And he said, yeah, that happened. And I said to him, and weren't you the one who pulled the entire team together to make that happen? And he said, yes. And I told him, well, that is how you lead, with your management skills and your executive functions, because an idea is just an idea if it's just left on the table. But you put that idea into execution, and that's why you're the successful business person that you are. And guess what? He went on to create his own restaurant concept after that. So the reason why we're talking about that is because he didn't even know how he led. He didn't know what it was that made him successful. But once he realized it, he was able to harness that power and move forward in more of an intentional way. There are a lot of leadership styles. If we Google, we could literally Google for days. These are just some of the topics that came up on page 1 when I looked up leadership. 3 main leadership styles, 5 keys of leadership, 7 leadership traits, 7 leadership styles, 8 key leadership skills, 10 characteristics and qualities of a good leader, 25 leadership qualities that make you a good leader. But here's the thing. Even though there's a lot of different information out there on leadership, there is one thing that we can all agree on. And that is, we've got to have a starting point. We've got to start somewhere. Knowing your professional DNA as it is right now, not as it was yesterday or 20 years ago or what it's going to be tomorrow, but knowing your professional DNA as it is right now is critical to becoming a more effective leader and an empowered professional leader, inspiration, coach, and mentor. Would we bake a cake without checking our cupboards to see what ingredients we had on hand and what ingredients we needed? We wouldn't do that. We wouldn't move forward without checking. And that's the same thing about our professional DNA. We have to know what we have on hand. We have to know what makes us up, what drives us, what values we have before we move forward in our careers. Are you compassionate? Like how would you describe yourself? How would others describe you? What are you known for? Are you compassionate? Are you a critical thinker? Are you wise? Are you a vessel of God? Do you think that other people would say that you're a good listener, or that you're a good project manager, or that you're a good public speaker? You're great with communication. So what skills are you known for? What are you good at? Where do you need to upskill? And what do you get to add? See, all of this goes into our leadership, finding out where we're at and what we need to add. So there are some challenges and blind spots for us as entrepreneurs, as professionals, as business builders. And some of those challenges and blind spots are that we don't really know what our values are. We don't know what those values are that drive us in our decision making. We don't always know the highest use of our time and talent, because if we did, we would all be prioritizing perfectly. We don't all have confidence to move forward. Believe it or not, even some of the most successful people don't even have that confidence level that it takes to move into that next successful, challenging part of their career. We also don't always know what type of brand or culture to bring to the table or to bring into our businesses. And we don't always know how to motivate, inspire, and influence others. We want to be good leaders and role models, but we don't always know how, through no fault of our own. No one ever handed us a whole entire manual on this is who you are and this is how you inspire and motivate and lead others. And also, we don't always know how to attract our target audience. So that's where assessments come into play. So there are a lot of amazing assessments on the market, and a lot of them are based on personality. So here's where it gets really interesting for me anyway, because I love knowledge. I love to learn and to share knowledge. The standard personality test that we know of today is actually built on one science that was created through the research of Dr. William Marston. So first of all, he was the creator of the systolic blood pressure test, which became one of the components of the modern polygraph. And what a lot of people don't know is he studied how fighter pilots would fare if they fell behind enemy lines, right? How would they do? How would they hold up? And all of that research that he did led to the modern personality test as we know it. But here's the thing, that science has evolved since the 1950s when he did that study. And the workplace as we know it has evolved. Cultures have all evolved. So we need to assess for success. Excuse me. Enter the meta-analysis. In behavioral research, meta-analysis is actually a statistical process. And what it does is it combines data of all different studies, multiple studies, to find those common results and to identify overall trends. And this is really important when we are looking at a meta-analysis and assessments. So these meta-analyses are very important when it comes to entrepreneurs, working with teams, working in corporate, and also in managing teams. So let me tell you a little story. So some of you may know Jason. I won't say his last name, but some of you may know, be familiar with Jason through the virtual summit. And Jason had a successful business. However, right before taking the assessment, there was one client that he actually had fired. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes we have to fire clients, right? And everybody right now might be saying, oh my God, who would fire a client? Why would anybody ever fire a client, right? That's part of your, how your revenue comes in. However, guess what? Jason was wrestling with the fact that he had fired a client. And he really couldn't put the notion of that to rest until he took the assessment. Because you know what he found out? He found out that he had a certain set of values that his clients, it was really important for them to share a good portion of those values. Because if they weren't about people and about making the world a better place and about delivering products and services that were quality products and services that would impact the lives of people, then if they weren't about all of those things, then that would be a client that Jason would not be able to work with. And once he realized that about himself, things got so much easier. And he realized why he had fired that client. And he also realized the type of client that he needs to look for and seek out and target his messaging towards in the future in order to be super successful in business. And that's what he does today, is he targets his message towards the proper audience. Another client of mine is Michael. And Michael came to me. He already had a successful company that was located on 3 continents. But guess what? Michael wanted to step out of being CEO at his company, and he wanted to get a job somewhere else, maybe as a CEO for another company. And I said, wait a second, you have a very successful company. He said, yeah, but I'm just not happy right now. I said, okay, before we do anything, let's get you to take the assessment. So once Michael took the assessment, we realized that he was more suited for an earlier stage company, a company that was more entrepreneurial based, that was more focused on those early partnerships where you're first putting things into place, like the processes and the procedures, and making them replicable. He wasn't really a fit for the stage of his company's size that it had grown to, which was kind of boring for him at this point, quite frankly. Once we realized that, we were able to align Michael with other growing companies where he could be strategic partners with them, kind of take some of those CEOs under his wing, mentor them, coach them, and help their companies grow while building his own company. Well, this proved to be a success when a few years ago, Michael circled back with me and asked me to help him create a pitch deck and review the current pitch deck for an $11 million raise. So he was now looking to gain capital and expand his company. So that was a win-win-win story because he never ended up exiting his company. That would have been premature. And we found that out by having Michael take the assessment. So Roy Disney said it best. It's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. The thing is that we don't always know what our driving values are in business. So Alana's story is a little different. This is the story of someone who was in corporate, who was a middle manager, but she didn't quite know how to communicate best with those who were her managers, her colleagues, her lateral managers, her partners, as well as those who reported directly to her. So we had her take the assessment. And what we found is that we also clearly needed to assess her teams and her manager, as well as her colleagues. And we found that she had a different set of values, as each of us do. We're all unique. But once we were able to show her what the values, what those driving principles were for those other people on her team, then she was able to craft her wording and choose her wording more clearly and more effectively so that she can impact and motivate and inspire those who reported to her. She could speak to their values. She was able to speak to her manager's values because she finally understood what they were. And it's okay for us to have different values. So we have about 45, 50 values that stack up like the kids' game Jenga. You know, that game where there are wooden blocks? So imagine, if you will, that each of those wooden blocks has a different value on it. And at any given point in time, some of those values rise to the top because of our circumstances. And those values, believe it or not, give us a very clear indication as to what's going right in our professional life right now and what can use some attention or what may not be going the right way for us right now. So identifying those values, not only for managers, not only for entrepreneurs, not only for teams, but identifying those managers for everyone within a department or within a business helps us understand and help each other, help them to communicate best with each other. So recently, the question arose, are we pursuing purpose or are we uncovering purpose? And let me just explain this to you. We each have a purpose or a calling that we're here to do, that we're here to complete, like a mission of our own. Not only the mission that drives a company and that we buy into as team members, but also our own personal, professional purpose. And when we think of pursuing our purpose, we get the image of this big ball that's rolling away from us and we're chasing it. When in reality, our purpose, our calling lies within us. And it's important to peel back the layers of the onion that is us so that we can uncover our purpose and our natural born calling, our natural born gifts and talents that we have that are supporting that purpose or calling. When we take the first step or the first two steps, God opens doors of possibilities. So it's really important for us to assess for success and take assessments and get to know ourselves. Take assessments that will give us a deep dive into our blind spots that will help us illuminate our values. So, do you want to hear a little bit about me? I'd like to share that after that success that I mentioned, we had that big success when I was in my early 20s. However, I really didn't know, I knew what I did to achieve that success, but I didn't necessarily know what skills I used to achieve that success. So when I went on to try my hands at other things, naturally, there were a couple of small successes, but there were a lot of failures because I really didn't know what it was that led to my success. Having said that, it wasn't really until I found my own assessment and evaluated myself through my assessment that I found out that I'm really high on HR and training. I'm really high on marketing and PR. I'm really high on leadership. These are the things, and I'm high on administrative customer service. These are the things that really propel my success, but it doesn't mean that they propel everybody's success. Some people are propelled through their executive functions and their management. Some people are propelled through their high-level strategic vision. Other people are propelled through their finance and operations or their research and development or their technical skills. But I learned a little later on in life what it was that propelled me. And once I did, I wanted to teach others how to achieve their success through the use of the KBAT tool, through the use of the trainings. So once we find our superpower, we can never unsee it. A lot of us believe we know what our superpower is, but we're really only guessing. You know, when we say, I'm a people person, well, I don't know anybody that's going to say, I'm not a people person, right? Most people are just going to say, I'm a people person. But what does that mean? Does that mean that you know how to market and brand people? Does that mean you know how to train people? Does that mean you know how to place people in their ideal roles? Does that mean that you know how to interview people? Does that mean you know how to put summits together so that people can display their amazing talents? We don't really know what being a people person means until we do a deep dive and we find out, what does being a people person mean to us, right? Where are our skills? And some of us may find that we're more of a project manager or more on the technical side or operational side of things. Maybe we're not as much of the people person that we thought we were, and that's okay, because we don't all need to be the people person. We have a lot of skills that we get to implement, and every business needs a wide, vast array of skills. We don't all need to be the CEO and replicate the CEO's skill sets. We need everyone on the bus. We need to fill all the seats on the bus, not just some of the seats on the bus. And that's important, especially when we're building a business, especially when we're part of a team. Who else do we need to have on our team in order to succeed? So one way to find out is by taking the KBAT, which is an assessment based on 7 different sciences. And their sciences from Stanford research, and it's actually 20 years of research from Stanford, and the values research from Dr. Claire Graves, also Neil Churchill at the Caruth Institute. It's research from Harvard Business School and UC Berkeley, and it incorporates strength finders and Gallup and emotional intelligence from Dr. Daniel Goleman, as well as neuro-linguistic programming, which is NLP. So all of that delicious science actually combines into a 15-minute assessment. If you can believe it's that simple that you can take it in 15 minutes, it's 32 questions. What it reveals is a wealth of knowledge. It reveals our values and our value conflicts. It reveals our ideal company size, where we would fit in best, or where we would grow our own company to that would be ideal for us. It also identifies our cultural fit, our work style, how we sell best, as well as our strengths and of course, our decision-making process. Why? So that we can make our best values-driven or values-based decisions. I'm the author of 2 books because I wanted to take all of that knowledge that was in my head and make it easily ready, acceptable, and easily acceptable for people. So my first book was The 7 Pillars of Reinvention, Finding Your Passion and Purpose. And my second book is Faith, Hope, and Options, a mid-career transitioner's Bible, because I really did specialize and do specialize in people who are in the mid of their career. Maybe they're pivoting, maybe they are working in another field, for instance, and becoming a virtual event producer. There are just so many ways, maybe they're working in a corporation and wanting to throw their hat in the ring for promotion and put their best selves forward. So anything can be considered a mid-career transition when we're pivoting ourselves or when we're seeking the next level of our success. And it needs confidence to do that, and an element of really strongly knowing ourselves and being able to build teams that succeed. So how will you design your next chapter? That's the question on the table, because really this isn't about me, it's about each of you. So each one of us has subject matter expertise. So what will we do with that subject matter expertise? I'm not talking about our company's trade secrets. I'm talking about how we go about performing our roles, the mindset, the mental attitude, the knowledge base that we've acquired along the way. What type of clients will you take on? Will your clients be in alignment? Will their values be in alignment with your values so that that client is a good fit for you? What type of team will you build? How will you communicate with others so that you can inspire and empower and motivate them? Knowing your professional DNA as it is right now, as we said before, is essential to becoming a more effective and empowered professional leader, inspiration coach, and mentor. My favorite quote is by Orison Swett Martin. And before I tell you the quote, I want to tell you who he was. He started out in life as an orphan, and he became the founder of Success Magazine. And my favorite quote of his is, "We lift ourselves with our thoughts. We climb upon our vision of ourselves." I add one word to that. We climb upon our highest vision of ourselves. Because right now, here's our vision of ourselves. We all see ourselves as this business builder. But guess what? Once we take the KBAT, we can never unsee our strengths and our skill set and our values. And then we get to climb upon our vision of ourselves at its highest realm. So instead of starting here and building out, we're starting from this vantage point and building out. So what skills do we get to add? What talents will we build off of? What talents will we use? What are our pain points that we get to place back into alignment? Remember the story about the dog hair behind the fridge? We get to move our own fridge. How will you move your fridge? When we take the assessment, when we take KBAT, we get to see how we can remove those blind spots and truly step into our power to not only empower ourselves, but to coach, mentor, inspire, and empower those around us and build successful teams. Again, I'm Tracy Kawa. I am a speaker, author, and a trainer. I'm a success coach. I'm available for keynotes and workshops. I am the founder of the KBAT assessment based on 7 different sciences. I conduct public speaking trainings and branding and intellectual property coaching. And I'm here for individuals, organizations, and teams. And for each of you, here is my contact information. If any of you have questions for me, please feel free to reach out. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to each of you. I hope each of you takes away at least a nugget of information and something that will illuminate and help you step into your next level of greatness. Thank you for letting me speak here on Talk Virtual. And Erica Bates, I appreciate you and your company very much.
Thank you, Tracy, for being here. Tracy, would you happen to have any call to actions or any homework for us that you would like us to follow through with?
Yeah, absolutely. If I had a homework for each of you, it would be to write down what you think. That's the key word, what you think your top 7 values are that drive you in business. And guess what? The next step is I would implore each of you to go to my website at tracykawa.com and find the KBAT and look into taking the KBAT assessment and see how close you really are to the 7 values that you wrote down. Scientifically, I believe it's going to be very different when you see the science, when the 7 sciences pull out what your top driving values are and who you are as a business builder. I think you're going to be very, very pleasantly surprised and ready to take your business to the next level.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Would you tell us where can we find you on social?
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and that just go to Tracy Kawa, TracyKawa. You can find me on Instagram. You can text me or call me at 561-239-0322. And you can send me an email at Tracy, Tracy, at tracykawa.com. And I did want to mention that only 25% is the results that you receive instantly with the KBAT. Then there's another 25% that you receive in a back-end report. And then there's an entire walkthrough debrief that we do together that takes about an hour. And that is the other 50% of what you will find out about yourself as a professional, as a business builder, as an inspiration, as an empowered professional.
Nice. Well, thank you, Tracy. Well, for all of you who are watching via the live stream, this is the end of the road. But if you want to hang out, meet, network with more brilliant people like Tracy Kawa and the Virtual Summiteers, you have to join the Virtual Summiteers. So with that, we say goodbye.